Yeah. Yeah, man. We'll make it happen. All right, bye. Yeah, what you got, Jeremy?
You about ready to film that video, boss man?
You know what, Jeremy?
What?
It ain't happening today, bro. It's Christmas rush.
Okay. Yeah, you're a busy guy. I get it. Maybe tomorrow?
Yeah, maybe tomorrow, man.
Okay.
Hey, Jeremy. You know what, man?
Yeah, what's up?
Why don't you go film it?
You want me to make something?
Yeah, man. You be the star. You've been working here long enough, watching all those dang YouTube videos about woodworking. Why don't you go make something?
Okay. Can I use the horse board?
Yeah.
Okay. Can I use your dad?
Yeah. But only for woodworking.
Okay, I'll figure it out.
All right, man. Good luck.
All right.
I had nothing in mind, and I drove home that day pondering on what I could make. As soon as I walked into my apartment, a beautiful opportunity presented itself to me. I am a newly married man to my beautiful wife, Mariah. You can tell that I'm married from the Christmas tree on my kitchen counter and the bowl of apples. Well, she works from home and needs a place to put her desk. We live in a small one-bedroom apartment, and there's only one place that her desk could go, but it sacrifices my favorite area in the entire house, my plant window. Since moving into this apartment, I've become sort of a plant guy. I love the little green guys. They're just so leafy and full of life. And I do not intend on getting rid of any of my favorite foliage, especially since I've nursed a few of them since they were wee little buds. So here's my game plan. I have all this space on my walls that are just begging to be used. I'll build 2 matching corner wall shelves so that I have space to store some of my plants and maybe even get a couple more green guys. Things to consider. I'm a newly married man. This ain't no willy-nilly throw it up on the wall sort of piece. It needs approval from the boss. Secondly, it must fit my plants nicely, and the dimensions must accommodate for that. Thirdly, it's gotta be pretty easy to build, because the extent of my woodworking knowledge does not include curves, or joinery, or bending wood. All I need now is a plant, and I'm no designer. So let's go Google something, see what we can steal. And steal we did. The next day I came in and immediately Googled wooden corner shelves, just like any good thief would, and found something that caught my eye. From Home Depot, a set of 3 corner shelves that were identical to what I was kind of looking for. So after validating that my plants would fit on said shelf and getting approval from the boss, I looked left, I looked right, I looked left again, and left my office, headed to the horse barn where Tommy was waiting for me to help me with the beginning of this project. As I got out of my car, I was greeted by the familiar sights and sounds of the birds that are on this farm. Pause! This is the villain of this story. Stick around to see why me and this peacock become mortal enemies. Now back to the video. Tommy!
Hola, amigo!
Hola, amigo! I have something I want to build, and I need your help. As Tommy took a gander at my rudimentary plans, he assured me that this is something that we could build. So we started looking through the wood scraps on a quest for walnut, and he said he had some up top. He climbed all the way up, very, very sketchily, I may add. There's no way I would ever do something like that. Tommy proceeded to look through the wood piles on a quest for walnut, but all we kept coming across was cedar. How can you tell what kind of wood it is?
Oh, that's cedar.
Cedar.
Yeah, smell it. Don't that smell like cedar?
I don't know what cedar smells like, Tommy.
You never been out in the woods where cedars at?
I'm a city boy, Tommy. I grew up in the suburbs. As Tommy continued to laugh at my inability to distinguish wood by its smell, I familiarized myself with the local wildlife. Horses are absolutely beautiful creatures, but kind of terrifying. From there, we had found our boards. 2 long pieces of walnut, already pretty milled down, until we discovered that that's cherry and that's walnut. Tommy's instincts had failed him, and he couldn't smell that cherry, but neither could I. So I carried it back, and we looked through the scrap piles until we found 2 nice long pieces of walnut. I am incredibly blessed that I do not have to pay for this expensive walnut. After I found out how expensive it truly was, I wanted to make the most of it. So we're gonna cut around these knots here. I made sure that the miter blade was square and put on my safety glasses. And now it was time to make the first cut of the project, and I was a bit nervous.
How'd you cut the wood? Wow! High five! That's what I'm talking about.
The band-aid had been ripped off entirely, and I proceeded to make the rest of the miter cuts without a hitch. The miter saw isn't too scary, but this next one is a little more scary. Now we were on to the table saw. I adjusted the height of the blade and got a quick lesson from Tommy on how to turn this thing on. Now, this is a saw stop, which gives me a little comfort that I won't just slice off my finger, but a table saw is still a table saw and needs to be respected as such. So after heavy deliberation, I made the first cut. Now all we're doing here is milling down the boards so that they're perfectly square. Tommy told me that they were already relatively square enough so that we could run it along the fence and have a nice well-milled board. From there, we did it to all of the boards and then proceeded to set our fence to the 6 and a little bit extra and rip down these shelves to the 6-inch width that I had required for my plants.
Alrighty.
That was terrifying. I hate table saw.
Now we had moved on to the step that Tommy calls figuring it out. I made the decisions of what I want to be exposed on the shelves, the top sides, and the front edges, and then set the miter saw to a 45-degree angle and cut my shelves to length. I wish that I would have cared a little bit more about the grain pattern matching when these two shelves came conjoined together, but I went a little willy-nilly here. Don't tell my wife. Despite a couple beginner mistakes, everything that we'd set out to do today was accomplished. The shelves were looking excellent, and I was proud of what we had achieved.
Success.
Yes, sir. You did good.
Thank you, sir.
Finishing up my day out here and saying hello to all the chickens and peacocks and guineas, and I think one of them left a little tasty surprise on my car. This is the biggest bird poop. This is the biggest bird poop I've ever seen in my life. On my vehicle. What are we doing? And you know who I think's guilty? That one. That one right there is the ringleader. I'm gonna call you Mr. Pooh. You don't even have your full feathers yet, Mr. Peacock. You're just a little fake peacock, you little stinky butt. I think we got a lot of good progress today. I'm happy with how things went. The table saw was scary. Miter saw, not so much. I'm excited to continue to learn these skills. Tommy was an incredible help for me. Time to clean this off of my car. And I will see you guys tomorrow. And I'll also get my sweet, sweet revenge tomorrow on you, Mr. Pooh. This will not go unpunished. Do you know who I am? I'm going to make your life a living... As I stepped out of my car the following morning, expecting to see my nemesis, Mr. Pooh, he was nowhere to be seen. It was quiet. Too quiet. Where had he gone? But never mind him, we had work to get done today, and that involved this tool I have in my hands, the Craig jig. Now, I had never used this tool before, but from what I've seen online, it drills out things known as pocket holes, and I was going to use this to assemble my shelves today. But before I just drill directly into my project without knowing how it works, Tommy suggested we do a practice piece. And after you drill out those pocket holes, you assemble them using these Craig screws, which have a square tip, not a Phillips, not a flat. This was a new thing for me, and I had asked Tommy why they're like that, and he said, I don't know, they just are. After getting confident with the Craig jig, I proceeded to draw the lines where I was going to drill the holes in my own project piece. I clamped it down in the jig and gave it a run. The first one didn't go too smooth. It made a noise I didn't like. So these next couple of runs, I decided to go in a little bit at a time, inching my way in to clear out the sawdust and unclamping it each time. I've seen the Craig jigs that clamp directly onto the tables, but we only had this handheld one, so I went ahead and clamped it myself using a little C-clamp at the bottom there. I think this is a very necessary tool for all woodworkers to have. And I'm very new to this community, but the pocket holes have been the easiest part of this project by far. I can't even conceive doing any real joinery. Like, what is a mortise and tenon? What is a dovetail? So then I clamped down my pieces, screwed them together using this extendo bit, not really sure the correct word for that. There's so much terminology that I'm learning within this woodworking community. We made sure that we didn't over tighten by using a speed square to check our 45-degree angle. We then measured off where we needed to trim down our piece to. I was gonna do initially 16 inches, but I went for 18 instead. And then I chopped those down to the final length. The project was taking form, and finally I could see it realized in front of me. There were a couple imperfections, and I wish I would have glued it up so there wouldn't be a weird gap in the middle and tear out on the edges, but sanding can take care of most of that. I used the pencil trick. Saw it in a video one time from Lincoln Street, I believe, to know where you've sanded and where you haven't, and it's a nifty little idea. Regardless of that tip, my sanding still is subpar. I'm not sure how long I should be spending on certain edges. I don't know whether to go off of feel, if I'm using the sander correctly. I think sanding is just one of those things that you get better with over time, and my lack of experience shows on this piece. I started with 150 and I ended with 220. Some people say you don't even need to go that high. I've seen countless short after short over how to sand properly, but I'm happy with this. And if you think it's good, leave me a comment, leave me a like. Before staining, I went to my car to retrieve another battery for my camera, and look who I stumbled upon. Mr. Wait. There's two of them. Without MR.POO on his high ground position, I can't tell which one's him. You'll live to see another day, MR.POO, but next time you won't be so lucky. On to my favorite part of the project, staining. I lay out my rags. We're using some Osmo hard wax oil. Pop the top off, stir up the mixture so you don't have any oil sitting on the top. Put your latex gloves on, at least I think they're latex. It's always weird when I think about people who are allergic to latex. What happened with your body? Why are you like this? I'm just kidding. If you have a latex allergy, go ahead and comment down below, hey man, that's not really nice. You shouldn't say that about people with latex allergies. And then I'll reply, I am so sorry. Please forgive me. I love you. But on a more serious note, this is my first woodworking project on YouTube, and this channel is dedicated mostly towards woodworking business, and I'm making a very mundane and simple beginner project here. So in itself, this video is a risk. This is not necessarily what you've come to expect from this channel, but if you enjoy this type of content and you want to see more of it in the future, let us know. And hit subscribe. We're trying to get to 100,000 subscribers by the end of the year, and I still think we can do it. There's 1 month left. Let's do it. I'm gonna act like I'm Rocky Balboa and Shadowbox. Okay, on to day 3. Here we go. Home Depot. I can almost smell the wood from here. The nostalgia fills my nostrils. Today we were looking for a wall bracket that could fit our shelves, and I struggled in the beginning as everything was a little bit wider than what we needed it, but eventually I came across the right aisle and I found it. With a 6-inch depth and a nice matte black finish, the classic arch from Stylewell was the perfect choice for my shelves. After double checking the measurements, I grabbed 4 of them and headed to the register, but not before getting my drywall anchors, because I know that where I want to put the shelves, there most likely won't be any studs. And this kit actually came with its own bit to drill into the wall, which just makes it easier for a consumer like me. I checked out, total came out to about $48 with tax, walked out of that Home Depot, and on my way out, clicked my heels for good luck. We're on the home stretch now, and all that's left is to put it on the wall. So first I need to attach the brackets to the shelf. I measured 3 inches in from each side and mark where I need to drill the screws. I double checked to make sure that screw wouldn't come poking out the other side, and it's just a 1/2 inch, and our thickness is about 3/4 of an inch. I contemplated drilling pilot holes, but decided against it because the screws go in quite cleanly regardless. After putting the brackets on the bottom of the shelves, I asked the boss to come in and help me eyeball how high she wants them on the wall. After micro-adjusting to her will for about 10 minutes, we ended up deciding on a perfect location for the first shelf. So then the process began of actually mounting them to the walls. First marking, then leveling, then checking for studs, adding anchors, drilling, screwing, and finally I had the first one in. As I mounted the second and final shelf, bringing this project to a close, I thought about how much fun I had while making it. From overcoming my fear of the table saw to my newfound feud with MR.POO, from the challenges of figuring it out to the monotonous yet relaxing work that sanding can be, I truly had more fun than I could have ever anticipated. As the editor of this channel, I'm used to being creative and making digital content, but the satisfaction I get after making something real, something that was once living and breathing on this earth and that now I can admire on my wall every single day of my life, well, that feeling is unmatched. When I took this job at Cutting It Close, I had no idea that eventually I'd be in front of the camera, but now looking back, I realize I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. I've found a new passion in woodworking, and I can't wait for my next project. If you are still here, thank you so much for watching this entire video. It means a lot to me. Remember, if you ain't cutting it close, you ain't cutting it right. See you next time.
Oh, that's a good dog. Oh, that's a good dog. That's a good dog.